Hi, and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I'm Tuesday, and I write fantasy fiction under the name Mary E. Twomey. Today, we are more than halfway through. We're like, would you say that's 2/3, 3/4? I really can't tell. But some decent chunk of the way through Taste, which is book 1 in the Tearaway series. Tearaway was based in Filipino folklore, and I really like reading different kinds of folklore and making modern day stories based on historical, mythological folklore. It's fun. So today we are reading chapter 29. It is called My New Body Pillow. I hadn't been this comfortable in ages. Usually I tossed and turned in my sleep, but despite the awful days previous, I awoke fully rested and feeling like I'd slept 10 hours, though I knew from the hardly there dawn peeking under the drawn curtains it had been only a handful. I stretched and yawned as my eyes closed again. I turned and cuddled up to my body pillow that was warmer than it usually was, and molded to my curves easier. It smelled like a dream and felt like a man. "Boy, do you sleep like the dead," commented a voice much too close for comfort. My eyes flew open and I gasped. My body pillow had been thrown on the floor, and my right arm and leg were currently wrapped around Vaughn, while Wolf Mason laid on the bed at my back. "What are you doing?" I whisper shouted at him, retracting and sitting up. Embarrassment colored my cheeks, and anger laced through my words when I saw Vaughn was bare-chested and taking up half the bed like he owned it. "What? Why are you in my bed?" I motioned to the floor. "Didn't you see the blanket I laid out for you?" Vaughn scoffed and reached over me to pet Mason, who was stretching on my other side. "I thought that was a joke. I don't sleep on the floor, love." I shoved him lightly to get up. "Go sneak out and lay down in the living room before Ollie wakes up and finds you stayed in here last night. Go! Or turn into a bat or whatever vampires do at night." "Half vampire," he corrected me. "Fine, whatever. Turn into a half bat then. Just go." Vaughn chuckled at my chagrin, taking in my flustered demeanor as he stretched his muscular arms toward the headboard, looking like a smutty pinup model for women to drool over. I refused to drool. "You make the most adorable noises when you sleep, you know." He closed his eyes in imitation of me and gave off little and ho noises. And for the record, I slid into bed on my own side. You're the one who couldn't stay off me. Not that I minded, and not that I blame you. He motioned to his sculpted abs and lean, muscular form. I was flummoxed, my cheeks pink. My hands flew out, gesturing to the mattress that he was still sprawled out on like he owned the place. "For the record, this whole bed is my side. You don't sleep in it with me. I live alone, and I don't need you horning in on my space." "Who's Beto?" Vaughn asked, his grin turning evil at my horror. "You were having some good dreams about Beto last night." "I'm not offended. I mean, we barely know each other. But if you could work in an occasional, 'Vaughn, you're so big and strong,' that would do wonders for my ego." "And your ego seems to be suffering so much. Get out! I'm not explaining you to Ollie." Vaughn frowned, picking up a pillow and kneeling on the bed, his naked chest staring me in the face. "Let me ask you something. So what if Ollie thinks we're hooking up? He's your brother. Does he really want you to die alone?" I swallowed hard at the notion I'd come to terms with when Ollie moved to New York. I had resigned myself to the fact that I probably would die alone, but it still hurt to think about and have thrown in my face first thing in the morning. "Of course not, but I'm not like that. I don't take random guys home. He still thinks I'm dating his old best friend. I haven't had the nerve to tell him we broke it off yet." "Did Beto move on to greener pastures?" My face soured. "What makes you assume he dumped me? I ended things with Beto, but I was avoiding a lecture from Ollie until the last possible moment. He can get a little long-winded when he's worked up." Vaughn stretched his arms over his head again, smirking when my eyes were drawn to his sculpted torso. "Ollie's a bit overprotective then." "He's fine. Look, I like you just fine. We're cool, but I don't want you in my business and definitely not in my bed." I tried to look away from his hard body, but my guilty eyes kept springing back to his abdomen like they were on a tether. "Would you put on a shirt already, Hasselhoff?" Vaughn stuck his finger in his mouth and pulled it out as if testing the direction of the wind. "Yep." Too much sexual tension between us. Sure, I'll put on a shirt. I wouldn't want to get you all hot and bothered. Just go. Please, Vaughn. This whole thing is weird enough without waking up to a stranger in my bed. I jabbed my finger to the door. Vaughn held up his hands in surrender, shoving a navy t-shirt over his head that matched his green flannels in a thrown-together sort of way. Whatever you say, Peach. He winked at me before he left. I went to get changed, but remembered Mason was a man, despite his gray fur. Okay, you've got to go too. I need to get dressed. Mason nodded and moved toward the door, but stopped by my side to rub his torso against my leg. I softened, wishing he was a real dog, as I knelt down and hugged him. His head looped over my shoulder, reminding me of the therapy dog I'd had to go to sessions with as a teenager. I had a hard time making physical contact with peers and adults, but I always had a hug and a treat for that dog. I'm not sure why my germ phobia or distant demeanor were null and void when it came to animals, but I took the contact where I could get it and squeezed Mason around the neck. Thanks for staying with me last night. You were right. You shouldn't have to sleep on the floor. And thanks for not letting Vaughn eat me in my sleep. Mason licked my cheek and leaned the top of his head into my hand for one more scratch before giving me my privacy. Mason's simple touch made me feel instantly lighter, and I wondered if he had done his pulling thing on me to take away my anxiety. I threw on jeans and a comfortable pink t-shirt with my black long-sleeved zip-up hoodie. I padded out to the kitchen in my socks. Danny was already rummaging through my fridge, pulling out things at random. My best sleep ever fended off the unhappiness I felt at having my stuff rearranged in the fridge. Looking for something? I asked Danny. He shut the fridge and leaned on the counter. I'm starving, so I know Vaughn and Mason are dying too. Not to eat you out of house and home, but it's a side effect of taking in your baggage. I only took in Mary Ann's normal amount, but Vaughn told me he and Mason were pulling rubbish from you all night while you slept. He scratched his head. Vaughn's better than I thought if he's already pulling from you while he's sleeping. Usually you have to have done it a few months before you can make it a subconscious thing. He stiffened with a stern frown. Don't tell him I said that, yeah? It'll make him even more cockier if he knows I think he's doing well, and he's at the maximum level of unsufferable as it is. What? My nose crinkled. He didn't pull anything from me. I didn't tell him to do that. You didn't have to, and you shouldn't stop him. He's doing his job and finally being an adult. Better late than never. And I didn't know Mason could do that in his animal form, but he did it brilliantly. He's out catching squirrels now. He's starving. I took out the carton of eggs, knowing I could add some leftover Thai food I'd cooked 2 days ago to make the spread go farther. Is that how it works with you and Mary Ann? Can you pull from her right now? Danny shook his head, taking out the orange juice and drinking from the carton. I nearly puked, making a mental note to buy a fresh container. No, we sleep in the same bed, so a lot of work's done while we're resting. Easiest that way. You have to be touching for them to pull the bad stuff out of you. Vaughn came out of the bathroom and strutted toward us with the proudest smile on his face. You two talking about what a brilliant reaper I am? Because you should be. I know how hard it is to do what I did last night. I held up my hands to the brothers. Look, I don't need to be handled. I don't need for you to sneak into my bed and pull stuff out of me while I sleep. Everything crashed down this weekend and I'm fine. See? Still in one piece. Vaughn turned to his brother as if I hadn't spoken. I'm ravenous. Like, could eat a whole cow and drink a whole person by myself. Is that normal? Yeah, stick with the cow though. You'll feel more of it for the first month or so. She's got a lot of buildup. Whatever craziness that's stored up in her over time will take more than a night to pull out. Mason's out there eating everything he can get his paws on. Danny handed him the orange juice, and Vaughn sipped out of the carton. The same carton Danny had just drank out of. Use a glass! Gross! I exclaimed, the ickiness crawling under my collar and making me itch. I scratched the back of my hand as I shoved past Vaughn and grabbed a glass from the cupboard. See what I mean? Danny said to his brother. Vaughn took the glass I handed him, set it down on the counter, and then stood taller while he started chugging the juice straight from the carton as if to challenge me, palming my face with his free hand. I finally succeeded in batting his arm away. You two can go out for breakfast. I'm not making you any, and since you haven't been housebroken, you can find your meals outside in the wild, where you belong. Huh, how come it didn't work that time? Vaughn asked his brother. I tried to pull the crazy out of her, but it didn't work. I mean, look at that cute little scowl. He thumbed my cheek, laughing when I swatted at his hand. So it was palpable now. I was crazy, and Vaughn could see it, plain as day. I don't know why this hit me as a new low. Danny took the orange juice and shoved it back in the fridge, on the wrong shelf, with the label not facing the front. You know, like a barbarian. She has to let you take it from her, or she has to be unconscious. Your best bet with this one will be to wait till she's asleep, or wait till you can take a soul from her. Suck a little harder, and a little of her madness will go out with it. I'm not crazy, I argued, knowing I sounded like a kid trying to hide muddy fingers behind her back while swearing she hadn't been playing outside all day. This is my house. I have every right not to want your mouth on my jug. Dirty. Come on, pigtails, have a seat. He pointed to the quaint dining area in the corner of the kitchen. I'll make us breakfast. She doesn't have enough food for all of us. Danny fished his keys out of his pocket. I'll pick something up for you, Vaughn. Mary-Ann's on her way. Try not to kill each other, kids. And that brings us to the end of chapter 29. We're doing it. We're getting so far through this book. I'm so proud of us. So if you want to read ahead, you can get this for free as of right now, the ebook, on all major ebook retailers. It's also available on audiobook, read by an actual audiobook reader, not me, thank the Lord. And it's available on paperback and hardcover. So you can either let me read one chapter at a time to you every Tuesday, or you can read ahead. Either way, it's fine. So I will see you next Tuesday on the next installment of Tuesdays with Tuesday.